All right. Are you live?
We are live.
See if it pops up here.
Hey, everybody. If you're on yet, we're going to wait just a few seconds for people to get on.
Coming on live.
You let me know, Alan, when you see.
I see somebody. Scott Turner.
Hey, Scott.
Greg's up out there too. Greg. All right.
Greg's always good. He's always on there.
Always there. So, we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves.
Yep.
My name's Allen. I'm a grateful believer. I struggle with codependency and anger.
Hey, Alan. My name's Sabrina. I'm a grateful believer. I struggle with codependency and food issues.
Hey.
And you may see our little. You're going to say something?
What I was going to say is that we are extremely social distancing tonight.
We are different coasts.
Different coasts, yeah. You're out in California and I'm back home. So
yeah, I came out last week to work on summit stuff. I stayed a couple of extra days for some R&R, and then I got stuck out here. My flight got canceled or delayed, and then I couldn't get back, and everything was sold out. So I'm stuck.
Should have came home with me.
I know. So we're here together with you on different coasts. We're so glad to be here tonight.
That's it. But we're here.
Yes.
We're here.
I was going to say, you may notice his little sign down there. It says Alan Stolze's spouse.
Yeah.
That's a little joke.
It's my official title.
Yes. He does everything. He is a valued member on the national team as a volunteer and just does so many, many things. So we appreciate him so much. That was just meant to be a little joke. So please don't take offense to that.
No, I don't take offense.
No, I meant anybody watching.
I wear that spouse name tag with pride. We have our own group.
You do?
Yeah, there's several of us. We have our own group. So
do you do open share time?
When we get together.
Yeah, you kind of vent about your spouses.
No, we just
open share group.
No, not quite.
Well, we are so glad to be here. Before we get started on our topic, yes, Alan is valued. Nikki said Alan is valued.
Thank you, Nikki.
Before we get started on our topic, we did want to talk just for a couple of minutes, like we always do, about the online summit that's coming July 30th and 31st. If you don't know anything about that, please go to crsummits.com. It's an online conference that we're going to have for 2 days that is going to be amazing and awesome, and you absolutely should be there. But we definitely have been getting some questions that we want to make sure that we get the answers out there to you because they're kind of being repeated quite a bit. So Alan, we can just kind of go back and forth with these. The first one is we get a lot of questions about how we're gonna access this the actual summit. Like you may not have received information about that yet, and so you're wondering, how are we going to access this? So about a week before the summit goes live, you will get a link in an email that is going to, that you'll be able to use to kind of test everything, make sure that you're able to get on and can kind of navigate the website a little bit. And it'll be through crsummits.com. It's not going to be through Facebook, because a lot of people have asked that as well. It will be through crsummits.com. And if you can play a YouTube video, you can access this because it's pretty much going to be the same thing. You go to crsummits.com and you're going to click on, whatever, and it's going to start like you stream any kind of video. So for those of you that will be doing it at watch parties at your church, that's all you need to know in terms of your technical people and how you get it on a screen and all of that. Just let them know. Pull it up as if they were going to pull up YouTube to test it, and all of that. And then, of course, you'll have that week beforehand where you can play around with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And make sure you note that the email you register with is the email that the link will be sent to. So make sure you're aware that, I know a lot of us have separate email accounts, work accounts, and so forth. But Make sure you know what email you're using for that too. And then this next one is very important: the 6-ticket free promo. So this we've been talking about. You buy 5 registrations and you get the 6th one free. That is going to end on July 17th. So you guys got to keep that in mind. July 17th, that ends.
And that means not just that, so not just that that promotion ends, but that all of your 6th free registration information needs to be submitted by that date. So
Okay.
if you have, you have 3 free registrations sitting out there and you haven't actually claimed them yet or assigned them to anybody, that needs to happen by the 17th as well. So if you don't do that by the 17th, those will basically, I don't know if they'll become invalid, but it will cause problems and back up with the registration process. So make sure you do it by the 17th.
Right. And registration will stay open all the way till the day of the event, right?
Yes, for $49 a person. And so after the 17th, up until the day of, you can absolutely still purchase those $49 registrations for anybody. You just won't be able to get that 6th person free. So make sure you get registered by the 17th so that you can invite people and give those tickets out.
Yeah.
I was going to say about the email that you register with is the email that the link will be sent to. Make sure that it's an email you go to often, but also if you registered like for a group, like if you registered for a group of people at your Celebrate Recovery and you put all your email address, you need to make sure you update that information. From what I understand, there is a way to go into your account or whatever and actually add those names and email addresses. And for the people that you're registering for, say you register 10 people, if their email isn't eventually put in there, then they won't get the link and be able to, let's say you do the watch party so you're not as concerned about it. If they don't get the link, they won't be able to watch it for up to a week without having that link for themselves. So you need to get that email for them.
Yeah.
So we recommend that you watch the summit live with us on Thursday and Friday for really the best experience, for interactions that'll be going on, chats. We're going to have a attendee group that on Facebook, from what I understand. And so, of course, that would be the best experience because you'll be experiencing it with everybody else. You'll be able to interact with everyone else. But you will have access to Thursday's content, for example, on Friday. So as soon as sessions are done, they'll be available. So even all throughout the day, once a session is done, it'll be available immediately to rewatch. So if you decide that you want to do a watch party on Thursday and Friday, or you want to do a watch party on 2 Saturdays in a row, because of your time zone, just whatever issues that might come up, you can absolutely do that. And so we want it because that question keeps coming up as well, and you absolutely can.
Yep. And then, of course, Spanish subtitles are going to be available at this summit as well, too. So when you register on the link for registration, make sure you do the Spanish registration to make sure that you get that as well.
Yeah, you end up, when you go to crsummits.com, you click on registration, you'll come to a general description page that's in English. When you click on register from there or purchase ticket, there's going to be a button there somewhere. When you click on that second registration button, it will say either the Spanish or English. So if you want the subtitles, you have to make sure that you do the Spanish registration.
Yeah.
So awesome. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay. If you guys have any more questions, make sure that you submit them in the feed. Submit them in the feed. I can't talk. And we have people online, Greg and Nikki and the national team and Marnie, that can answer questions that come along as well.
Yep.
So, all right. So we are going to be talking about, oh, my feed went away. We're going to be talking about what is the lesson for you tonight. So a few weeks back, Johnny and Jenny covered the guidelines. And what we're going to be focusing on is kind of has to do with guideline 1, which is keeping your sharing focused on your own thoughts, feelings, and actions. And so we're going to kind of break that down a little bit specifically for what is the lesson for you. And you'll see how that kind of ties in. When we first start recovery, oftentimes our sharing is about other people, right? Our spouses, our coworkers, our friends, whatever, because we're in pain, we're struggling, we're hurting. And of course, whatever our addiction compulsion is, we'll talk about those things as well. But when we're talking about other people and situations and issues with them, we're often sharing about how they've hurt us, what they've done to us, how they're currently treating us, because we don't know how to deal with it, right? It's a struggle. The thing is, if we don't eventually get away from that type of sharing, because we'll share 90% that way, let's say, when we first start recovery. Whereas we want to get to where we're really focusing on our own thoughts, feelings, and actions, because just sharing about what other people are doing, how they're acting, keeps us stuck, because we can't control other people, right? We can't control their actions, their behavior, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And it keeps us also from seeing ourselves, our own thoughts, feelings, and actions, when we're so focused on what other people are doing. And I get that there's pain involved with that, and we have to deal with that. We have to process that. But the transition to focusing on ourselves and seeing ourselves, examining ourselves, learning the lessons that God has for us in this situation, can't happen if we're fully focused on what other people are doing, right? I can't see my part if I'm focused on what someone else's part is. I can't be looking at two things at one time. So if we don't examine and look at ourselves, like I said, those lessons will escape us, and we'll kind of stay stuck in victim mentality. And, that person needs to change in order for me to be okay. That person needs to change in order for me to be happy. And so we stay stuck in that when we can't change that. So I always, I've said this before in here, I always ask my sponsees, what's the opportunity for growth in this situation? In every situation they come to me with, what is the opportunity for growth for you? And so, and I may not say that specifically, but that's what I'm trying to get at with them when I'm talking through it with them. I'm asking them questions about their thoughts, how they reacted, how they felt, those kind of things. Something that was just like gold for me, from my own sponsor, and that she has taught other people many, many times, is that when she shares in open share group, she has told me, I may have something going on with my spouse or family members or friends or whatever, but in my sharing, they're never going to know that that's the case, because she starts her sharing with something happened and I. And so something happened and I did this. Something happened and I said this. Something happened and I felt this as a result of what happened. And so she doesn't have to get into the details in order to deal with herself, with her own thoughts, feelings, and actions. We often feel like if we don't do that, that we're not going to get that, we have to explain the situation. People have to understand. And that's not actually the case. Maybe when you get deep into it with your sponsor, you need to talk more about those things. But talking in vague terms about it is something that can happen as well. But this is a great tool to use when doing this. I've actually seen my sponsees do it. There was one sponsee that was really good at it. I was sitting there one day listening to her share, and I was like, I know everything that she's talking about, and no one in this room does, but she is doing such a beautiful job of dealing with her own self and processing this and dealing with it. It's beautiful to watch when someone can't get to that point.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got a couple scriptures here that kind of go perfectly along with this. Luke 6:42 says, how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when you yourself fail to see the plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. And then Psalm 139:23, search me, God, know my heart, test me, and know my anxious thoughts. When I do reach out to my accountability team, to my sponsor, with something that has happened, like what Sabrena said, if I've shared in group, something happened and I said, I felt. When I call my sponsor, my accountability team, and do the same thing, like, hey, this is a situation that just happened, and this is what happened, and I start to process it and say it, they kind of guide me along the way. Okay, so what was your part? What did you say? What did you feel? How did you react? And when that happened, this will, help me to understand that I need to make an amends or offer forgiveness. And they can help me see that as I'm processing it and talking through them about it. And focusing on me instead of what somebody else did or what somebody else said, if I focus on me, then that process is a lot quicker because I'm not stuck in the blaming, like, well, if she said this and this and this and this, and staying back and forth with that argument. When I can focus on me and turn it back to me and what was my part, then I can get to that process quicker.
That's a justification, a way to
Yeah,
justify.
yeah. When you're sitting there blaming other people, of course it is.
Yeah.
Because they have an unbiased view of the situation. They just see, as good sponsors, just going to focus on you and what you're dealing with and not worry about anybody else involved. They're going to try to try to talk with you and drag out, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions in that as well too. And it works. It does work. And I've seen it work in other people as I've coached them. But more importantly, it's worked in me, and us as Sabrina and I as a couple too. We have this story that we share from time to time.
Every year in our lessons at RCR.
They love it, but it's a perfect example of the years of process of doing this work has gotten us to the point where we can take the blame off of each other and focus on our part and get to resolution quicker and an amends quicker. So you want to start with the story?
Yeah. So I prefer using BIC pens when I write. To me, they don't run out of ink. They are smoother. I hate all other pens. And so we had kind of run out of them or gotten low on them. So I put on our grocery list, we have a thing on our fridge. I put on the grocery list, Bic pens, a couple boxes or a box or whatever. And Alan went grocery shopping. He came home. Everything was marked off the list except for that. And there were none anywhere. So I went back into the back room and I was like, did you get the pens that I had put on the list? And you said,
I said, no, we have pens.
He's like, why do we need those? We have
pens.
Plenty. And I was like, okay, so in the past, I would have truly let that go because I would have, I didn't want his anger and control to kind of flare up. And I always just would people please and all of that. So instead I said, can you please just get him for me next time? And then I left. I didn't try to get into an argument with him because that would be the other thing is I'm going to justify myself and argue with you. I mean, guys, truly, these are how dumb our fights were. And so, and they got big, they would get big. So I walked away and the next thing I know, he's the rest of the day, apparently he's kind of stewing it a little bit, right?
Oh yeah. I'm stewing. I went around the house. I gathered all the pens that we had. I put them on the counter. And
I
when you
walked
came
in
out
the
there,
kitchen.
I was like, this is why we don't need pens. We have them all.
So he was going to prove to me we didn't need them. And
that's right.
Again, this would have been something in the past where we would have just, totally blown up. And I said, Alan, I don't know, it doesn't matter to me. And I talked about a lot of those didn't work anymore. And he was like, well, why don't we throw them away? And I was like, I don't know. I can't speak to that. I don't know why nobody does. So please just get the pens. And I walked away again. And I just let him deal with his emotions. And as opposed to, so this is the lesson that I had learned over time in recovery, that it's not my responsibility to make him feel better, to calm him down, to, make him understand my point of view and my thinking. I can just make a choice for myself as an adult. When I did walk away from that conversation, I was like, okay, I'll just get them myself. Like, I'm not going to get into that with him. And whereas in the past, it would have been this big blow up.
Right. And on my side, the control, anger, codependency part of me, wanted to. I'm right. We don't need pens. I don't need to spend $1.89 on pens when we got
And I
500
did
pens in
say
the house.
that. I said, are we really doing this over a $2 box of pens?
Yeah. But the lesson is for me, of course, is that, I stepped back and I didn't go down that road. And I stepped back because of all the things that I had learned and I had processed and done through recovery. I was able to step back and go, okay, let me think about this myself, right? Let me process this. It's a box of pens. They're $2. It's not going to matter. If this is what she wants to use, let her use it, and we don't have any, fine. I'll get the pens. So knowing that I had made a mistake and I owed an amends, I went back to her. She was in the back room. I went back there and I said, hey, I wanted to, apologize for this fiasco. I called it a fiasco.
He called it a fiasco. That's not made up.
Apologize for this fiasco. And, we were able to move on. And, the whole thing, it was a matter of hours, right? From start to finish. In the past, it would have went on for days because we would have been still mad and stuck with each other. So we're saying this, that the process works. If you work through it, the process is going to work. Mm-hmm. And you stay focused on yourself in your sharing time. When you go to group, when you're in step study, focus on what you're dealing with. Focus on your thoughts, actions, and feelings, just like the guideline says. Mm-hmm. And, the more you can do that, it's going to change the way you think, the way you process things. And so you can get to a situation like with the pens, and you can work through it and not have major damage or major relationship issues or distancing or whatever you want to call it as a result of a $2 box of pens. So.
Yeah, for me, the distancing would be punishing because I would give the silent treatment, and there were so many other things that built up to the point where every discussion almost, or I can't say all, don't say all, but a lot of our discussions turned into right fights, is what I call them. Every time we disagreed about something, it became a right fight. I'm right, and I'm going to justify that. We'd get into these major, struggles, and then we would get in this cycle of, I would give the silent treatment and punish him for days as a result, instead of us dealing with it. And so, because we weren't able to see the lessons for ourselves or to examine ourselves, it was all about the other person.
That's right. Not till we had processed through recovery. Now, someone just commented and said this was a pandemic. That's funny. That's funny.
That's very really funny. That's
one of the funniest things I could have
We're
learned.
going to change the name of it because in the lesson it's called the pen fiasco, and so I love that.
Pandemic. That's good.
Someone else before I move on, someone had said, sometimes focusing and explaining on how I feel is hard for me because I'm scared of being judged and ridiculed. I get that so much. Being vulnerable for me is not something I'm okay with, and has been really hard in my process of recovery, especially with Allen, because I would feel like if he would use something against me if I brought it up. And so there was a time where something was wrong with my mouse and I was slamming it down, and because it wouldn't work, I ended up getting angry and kind of losing it. No one was home. And it turned out that the batteries were not, I needed new batteries in it. And I wasn't going to tell him about that, but later on I did, for the purpose of, I need to be willing to be vulnerable, because I might feel like that he's going to use it against me or make me feel stupid, but for me, I have to be honest and work the recovery for myself. And so I have to push myself past that. But it's also the reason we need safe people in this program and in this process, like our open share groups, our sponsors, the people that we know are going to, not going to judge or ridicule us. So thank you for that comment. It's, I know how hard that is. So we may not get through all of our notes, but that's okay. So another way that we can look at this, what is the lesson for me? When I teach on the fourth step a lot of the time at the summits, and when I'm talking about the my part column on the inventory sheet, it's not always about what part did I play in the event or that I had responsibility in the event. If you've done a fourth step, you know that part of that is that I know that I'm not guilty in this situation. Like if I've been abused or treated badly, had no part in someone else's bad behavior towards me or hurtful or damaging behavior towards me, then we're not guilty in terms of having a part in that situation. But we have the responsibility from that event to examine if we carried anything away from it. So did we use coping mechanisms and developed addictions and compulsions as a result of this? I coped with food in my alcoholic home when I was a child, and that became my addiction that I then became responsible for. If I was abused, did I become someone who abuses other people? Am I carrying around anger, unforgiveness, bitterness? And did I become an angry person as a result of this situation? And so I can dwell on what happened in that situation and how someone hurt me, or I can begin to examine the things that I have a part in and need to work on. And part of that is learning how to forgive, letting go of that bitterness, letting go of that anger, and working the process in order to do that. Because if I stay stuck in what other people did to me, again, the focus can never turn around on me so that I can learn and grow, so that I can receive the lessons that I need for me to be a different person. So it's not about blame. The four-step process is not about blame. It's about the lessons. It's about what we can learn about ourselves and have that change through this process. So it's about changing your life. It's about changing you, because you can't change anyone but you, right?
Yeah. Another example is like maybe your job, your work, right? Your pastor, maybe you work, some of your pastors, maybe your pastor's decision about how to reopen during this time and what
Oh,
their
good
process is
example.
going on through that, you think, but no, 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 they're wrong. They don't have all the answer, or, they're just trying to do the best that they can with the information they have. So the lesson in that for you, what's the lesson in that for us? I might not agree with um, our church's policy going forward with whatever we're going to do, right? But the lesson for me is to give up control, because it's not my authority, it's not my control, it's not my responsibility to handle the church. Submit to that authority and to what the desires and the wishes of the staff and what they want to do moving forward. We have to learn that it's not about me, it's not about us, it's about it's about our own personal and how we respond in those situations. Um, you know, Sometimes we don't, in situations like that, we don't have all the facts. We don't see the big picture of what's going on. There may be a lot of other things coming in from different directions that went into the decision to do X, Y, Z, and we don't. We only have a small part of that, and we're only reacting to that part. We're not, we don't have the full picture. So, mainly that lesson is give up control, submit to authority, and focus on what you can control.
Yeah. The focus is
Yeah,
often directed at other people, situations, and circumstances when that's not the point. It's the
exactly.
point is you and God and the lessons that you're learning from them. One of the last examples that I had put down was as a codependent, sometimes the lesson is about how to take care of me, right? So maybe I'm treated badly by someone and I have to figure out how to take care of myself, how to protect myself, how to have boundaries, how to not absorb lies that they might believe about me or say about me or project towards me. It made me think of sunscreen. I'm a very fair person, and so I need high SPF, and sunscreen protects us, right, from absorbing those unhealthy rays from the sun. And so, in the same way, we have to figure out what is the protection that we need to not absorb those lies into ourselves and take them in as truth and believe those lies. And a lot of the time, truly, the more offended we get by other people or can't handle their anger or issues with us, or if they they hurt us in some way. A lot of the time that has a lot to do with our own self-worth and whether we stand firm in that. Because if I know who I am in Christ, and I know who I am as a person, and I know that I'm doing the things I need to do in my recovery, other people's thoughts about me and beliefs about me don't hurt me as badly. And so that, again, is an indicator to me that I still have work to do if I get offended often by the way other people think, feel, or act towards me. And if I don't know how to protect myself from that, that just means there's more work for me to do. So what are the lessons, again, that I need to learn in order to protect myself? With sunscreen, sometimes you also need to let in some of that, right? The sun has some good qualities, some things that are healthy for you. There's some good in that. There's some good in relationships that might be hard relationships and difficult relationships. Allen's and mine was that way. There was a lot of unhealthiness, but I had to learn how to let in the good and deal with the bad and struggle through the recovery process. And apply that sunscreen. What helped me with that were my safe people, my process in recovery, my sponsor, just all of my safe people, and continuing to learn the things I need to learn while protecting myself. And so for me, that's been a big part of the lesson. Walking away when Allen struggles with anger and control is a part of that protection process for me, and not absorbing it into myself as if it's about me. It's not. He's dealing with his own stuff. So,
well, looks like we're done. Time has run out, and went by fast. Thank you guys for being with us tonight.
Yes.
Make sure you share this video. It'll be on YouTube as well too. But make sure you share this video, and we'll see you guys soon.
Yeah, at the summit, it's coming, man.
Yes,
it's
coming.
We're just going to turn around. It's going to be here. So, can't wait to see you guys there.
We'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.